Hello and thank you for joining us on NAPTIP On The Move. I'm Angela Agbegi. Our package on this episode features diverse events of NAPTIP, geared towards ensuring a human trafficking and violence-free nation. First, we start with a 2-day capacity building workshop for secondary school principals and counselors, organized by NAPTIP, with support from the Ford Foundation. Let's take a look.
The National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, in collaboration with the FCT Universal Basic Education Board, with support from Ford Foundation, organized a 2-day capacity building workshop for school principals and counselors in public schools in the Federal Capital Territory. The workshop, themed Strengthening the Capacity of School Principals and Counselors as Conduits in Combating Human Trafficking and Violence Against Persons in the FCT, started with a welcome address by the NAPTIP Director, Training and Manpower Development.
I'm delighted to welcome all of you to this training session on combating violence against persons and trafficking in persons. It's an uncommon privilege to have school principals and counselors from public schools in FCT gather here today, all dedicated to creating a safe and supportive environment for our children. There's a similarity here in the relationship between NAPTIP and school principals and counselors in FCT. The position you're occupying is not only strategic, but also critical. Violence against person and human trafficking issues concern all of us. It's our responsibility to ensure the well-being and safety of our children in our midst. The training aims to equip us with the knowledge, tools, and strategies needed to identify, address, and prevent the twin scourge amongst your students' population. Working with NAPTIP, we can create a safe and nurturing environment where every child feels respected, valued, and protected.
Representative of the Chairman, FCT Universal Basic Education Board, commended NAPTIP for the training.
It's a thing of joy for us to partner with NAPTIP. Knowing fully well what is happening, the training that will be taking place is definitely going to be more useful to us because the schools were the end users. And I assure you that at the end of it, definitely great changes will happen. We know that in our schools we are faced with most of these instances and incidences that are happening, sometimes right in the school or sometimes from the community. But the schools are forced to take action or have to deal into the situations. So this training came at the right time that our principals here will also hear it raw from the people in charge. This one is not is just like another course unit for us to learn from the people, the agency that are involved in trying to combat all this trafficking that is taking place.
The Director General of NAPTIP addressed the forum.
Let me first of all welcome you to this 2 days capacity building on behalf of NAPTIP and also on behalf of our partner Ford Foundation. Last year we did the first stream, which was the first in I think 7 or 8 years, and we got very positive feedback from everyone, and we also saw the feedback in the number of reportage that we were beginning to see from schools. This is a capacity building that we would hold every year, which is why we felt it was important to invite everyone here present today due to the very strategic roles that you play as whether principal or counselors or teachers or just how representatives of your different communities. We felt it was important for us to assist you in building your capacity because due to your positions, you nurture young minds and you shape skills. So we know that issues of violence against persons or human trafficking happens in and outside school. It can happen in the house, it can happen in the school. It can be perpetrated by people outside the school environment, it can be perpetrated by people in the school. So it is your responsibility to understand what these issues are, to recognize the red flags, and you can only recognize the red flags if you understand these issues, if you educate yourself. And one thing I always say to every adult, when a child comes to you to report, believe that child. How can you say your father touched you inappropriately? Or how can you say your father? No. In this line of work, we see a lot of things.
She also encouraged the participants to pay more attention to their students and report cases of violence against persons and trafficking in persons to NAPTIP.
It is not just your responsibility as an educator, it is your moral obligation to take care of children that have been put out of your purview. It is not your responsibility to judge anybody. It is your responsibility to believe them, just as you want somebody else to believe your own child or your own word when they go to seek for help somewhere else. Sometimes when children come to school looking very haggard, you are not interested in asking why that child is looking haggard. Or when a child is sleeping in class, you will not even go and ask. What you make happen for somebody else's child, God will make happen for your own children. When you are in a position, you are entrusted with the lives of others, you need to pay attention. You need to be interested in what is going on in the lives of these people. Because we know that most of all these government schools are filled with children that work as house helps in other people's homes. So when you don't see a child in school for like a week or 4 days, go and find out what is going on. Ask questions. We've seen incremental cases of child abuse coming out from schools, coming out from homes, not just in the FCT, but all across Nigeria. And God has placed you in strategic positions because He wants to use you to assist others.
Having declared the workshop open, presentations on offences and penalties under the VAP Act, overview of trafficking in persons, trends, offences and penalties were made by NAPTIP officials. The workshop continued the next day with more presentations on referral mechanisms in VAP and TIP, gender mainstreaming in TIP and VAP, risk factors in VAP and consequences of domestic violence by NAPTIP officials. The workshop ended with presentation of certificates to participants.
I've really learned a lot as a mother, even as a counselor. I've learned the proper channel of communication in case if you come across any incidents, we have to take it up, report to the principal, and the principal will channel it to the UBEP office. When I get back to school, I will try to step it down to my fellow teachers.
The violence against persons is so rampant in the society these days that even the children that are victims, they don't even know the implications. They don't know that they even have some rights against such things. Because of this unconsciousness in them, this training will help us to tell them that you have a right. If you are being abused, there are so many channels we can go through. You can come through us as your teachers, as your counselors. You can even tell your parents if the abuse is not directly from your parents.
This training is a welcome activity. We are very, very glad to work with NAPTIP within the years. This is not the first time we have been collaborating with NAPTIP to work under this kind of activities to improve our schools. So we are happy to work with them now, and also we wish that more trainings and more activities we collaborate together with NAPTIP to make the institution a better place.
The two-day capacity building workshop was attended by 60 participants, including principals and counsellors from public schools in the FCT.
The Director General of NAPTIP, Professor Fatima Waziri-Azi, recently delivered a keynote speech on combating human trafficking in Nigeria at the 2023 annual colloquium by the Epiphany Azingi Foundation. Don't go away.
The Director General of NAPTIP, Professor Fatima Waziri Azi, was a keynote speaker at the 2023 annual colloquium titled Modern Day Slavery, organized by the Epiphany Azinge Foundation in collaboration with NAPTIP and National Human Rights Commission. Professor Epiphany Azinge, Senior Advocate of Nigeria and convener of the event, welcomed all present.
Permit me, on behalf of Epiphany Azinge Foundation, to warmly welcome you all to the 2023 annual colloquium of the foundation titled Modern Day Slavery. Each year, the foundation tries to interrogate contemporary and burning issues of the moment. This year, we have settled for the topic Modern Day Slavery because of the increasing cases of modern day slavery in our clime. It has manifested amongst us in many forms and dimensions, and unfortunately many still consider it the norm and a way of life. This colloquium, apart from being a platform to critically examine issues of modern day slavery, is also a medium of sensitization and creation of awareness amongst our populace. This year, the foundation for the first time sought and obtained the consent of both the National Human Rights Commission and National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Person to collaborate with the foundation in this advocacy against modern day slavery. They are therefore not only collaborating but also leading conversation on the subject matter. There is need to draw from lessons and experiences of other climes through the intervention of people from those climes. We hope that at the end of today's event, a lot would have been achieved in our quest to seriously address the menace of modern day slavery in our environment.
The event was chaired by the Executive Secretary of the National Human Rights Commission, Dr. Anthony Ojukwu, Senior Advocate of Nigeria.
Modern day slavery and its impacts on human rights in Nigeria has become topical, and the world struggles with the intricacies of globalization, economic disparities, and evolving social structures. This is because of the global demand for cheap labor in different sectors of the individual countries' economies. Modern day slavery remains an entrenched social, political, economic, and cultural issue that requires a comprehensive approach to address. And that underlines the main reason why the government established NAPTIP. This heinous crime not only violates basic human rights, but also hinders the socio-economic development and progress of our country as a whole. We consider the fact that significant efforts have been made to combat modern day slavery in Nigeria. To effectively address this problem, it is imperative that government at both the national and subnational levels, civil society, development partners, and concerned citizens should collaborate with NAPTIP and the National Human Rights Commission so that we can work together to strengthen our efforts. There is therefore the need to strengthen and enforce the existing laws as well, increase awareness and enlightenment campaign on the consequences of modern day slavery, targeting both potential victims and the general public, and develop empowerment programs through good governance that will address the root causes of slavery, such as poverty, and promote economic opportunities for social change.
The special guests, the Honorable Minister of State for Police Affairs, Iman Suleiman Ibrahim, and immediate past chairman of ICPC, Professor Bolaji Owasonoye, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, also made speeches.
Poverty and poor governance, as we've been told, have been major push factors. Up till now, many Nigerians disagree that if you support or facilitate, in quote, the exit, howsoever, of a Nigerian from this very uncertain future, that this is trafficking, or that there's something wrong with it, or that it is a pathway to modern day slavery. They just don't see it. But we know that the entire transaction, in many cases, is a form of slavery, considering the inhumanity of some of the transactions and its processing. Suffice to say that trafficking in person leads to abuse, which is physical, psychological, or sexual, as the case may be. It's a whole complicated thing, and this conversation, in my view, is timely and very apt, and I think it will contribute to the solutions that we're all looking for.
We all have a collective responsibility in ensuring that we address the issues of human trafficking in Nigeria. And sadly for us, despite being a country of origin, a country of transit, and also a destination country, we are also saddled with our own internal crisis of trafficking. I think is a wake-up call for all of us. While we protect and we prosecute for justice for the victims, we must also take preventive measures. As we all agree, prevention is better than cure. While we renew hope, we should also rebuild trust and restore confidence in our nation. And that's why it excites me to see a lot of students here. They are the present, they are the future. They should recognize that we all have a critical role to play in the evolving of this nation.
Highlight of the event was the keynote speech on combating human trafficking in Nigeria, challenges and solutions by the Director General of NAPTIP, Professor Waziri Azi.
Let me start by thanking Professor Azinge for inviting me to address one of the gravest challenges facing our society, the scourge of human trafficking, and to explore both the challenges that besets us and the solutions that can lead to a brighter future. Over the last 5 years, we have witnessed an alarming transformation in the landscape of human trafficking in Nigeria. It is no longer confined to its conventional familiar form. It also highlights the fact that young people at all levels are at risk. Traditionally, young people from rural areas and urban poor communities were targets. Traffickers now operate online as much as they do offline. The internet has no geographical boundaries, which means traffickers have access to a wider pool of potential victims. Human trafficking is not just a crime. It is a tragedy. It preys upon the vulnerable, leaving scars that endure for generations. In Nigeria, this tragedy unfolds daily, affecting the lives of countless women, men, and children. Human trafficking in its various forms remains a harsh reality, and Nigeria is not exempt from this global epidemic. To provide a bit of context, human trafficking is a $150 billion yearly global industry and constitutes a threat to humanity, affecting millions of people across the world. Which is why effectively addressing human trafficking is a growing priority for all countries.
The comprehensive speech covered various forms of human trafficking, the 2023 Global Index on Modern Slavery, current efforts of NAPTIP, legal framework, challenges, proposed solutions, a call to action, and conclusion.
According to NAPTIP statistics between 2019 and 2022, in Nigeria, 61% of trafficking happens internally, that is from one community to another and across state lines, while 39% are trafficked outside our borders. The increase of external trafficking was escalated by the 2019 pandemic, which witnessed a sharp decrease in family income and an increase in poverty levels. People were desperate more than ever to make ends meet, thereby becoming susceptible to the antics of human traffickers and human smugglers. Human trafficking is not just a statistic. It is the faces and stories and the hopes of those who suffer. We must understand its convoluted nature, how it thrives in the shadows, exploiting desperation and despair. We must recognize that behind every case, there is a human face. And as we gather here today, I'm not here merely to highlight the challenges. I'm here to offer a path forward. We can keep strengthening our legal frameworks, enhance enforcement, amplify awareness, and scale domestic and trans-border collaboration. We can provide survivors with the support they need and deserve. We can prevent the recruitment of new victims. This change will not happen on its own. I implore every one of you to take minimalist actions. Support organizations working tirelessly to combat human trafficking. Advocate for policy changes that protect the vulnerable. If you suspect human trafficking, report it to the appropriate authorities. Let me end where I began. In the face of adversity, let us be unwavering in our commitment. Let us be relentless in our pursuit of justice. Let us be the change makers who ensure that every Nigerian, every child, and every soul can live in freedom, dignity, and hope. And may our collective efforts pave the way for a Nigeria where human trafficking is but a distant memory.
And innovation, we do that for her.
The event was attended by dignitaries, officers of NAPTIP, members of staff of the National Human Rights Commission, members of the academia, civil society organizations, university and secondary school students. The Epiphany Azinge Foundation is an independent, non-profit foundation established in 2017 to promote the undertaking of legal research, scholarship, legal writing, and legal education.
NAPTIP is not relenting in its prosecution efforts. So far in 2023, the agency has secured 60 convictions and counting for human trafficking cases.
The Federal High Court in Ado-Ekiti, Ekiti State, presided over by Honorable Justice Babs Kwewumi, has convicted and sentenced a 32-year-old male, Patrick Olabode Moses, to 18 months imprisonment and a compensation of 100,000 naira to the victim for attempting to recruit a female victim for sexual exploitation. In Kano State, the National Industrial Court, presided over by Honorable Justice Ebeye David Esemo Isele, has sentenced a 34-year-old female, Faidat Bolanle, to 1 year imprisonment without option of fine, and in addition to pay the sum of 200,000 naira to the victim as compensation. The convict attempted to facilitate the illegal entry of a 25-year-old female victim to Libya from Lagos State through Kano and Niger Republic. NAPTIP is leaving no stone unturned in ensuring zealous prosecution of offenders. NAPTIP On The Move is sponsored by Expertise France, funded by the European Union.
Finally, as always, it's time to bring you an account of a victim. Stay with NAPTIP On The Move.
I was at home when my auntie came. She came to the house on a visit. She told my mom about me coming to work for a friend in Ghana. And I bought the idea based on I was just in the house doing nothing after my SSC exams. So I bought the idea of following her down to Ghana. According to her, to work as a house help and storekeeper. So I did. But on my way to Ghana, when I got to immigration checking point called Turakope, they asked me where I was going to, and I told them I was going to Kumasi in Ghana. And they asked me to do what? I told them to work for my auntie's friend. They asked me what's my auntie's name. There was this man, the agent that took me to Ghana. So they caught us with some other 2 girls. And they asked us questions. We questioned, we asked for passports. And according to the agents, we didn't give us any passports or ID cards. So we told the officers we don't have any. So they caught us and they told us that it's a lie. We're not going for storekeeper work or any sales girl or house help. That we are going for a shower work if we want to. And me, I don't want to do a shower work. I told them no, I don't want to. And they said, okay, if I don't want to, they're going to send me back to Nigeria. And I was like, how is that going to be possible? No transport. And they said, don't worry, you're in a safe hand. And I was like, okay, ma. So they arrested the agent that brought us here. And they handcuffed him. They took him to their cell. And they took us to a shelter. The officers came back to the place. They took us to Nigerian embassy there in Ghana. And they did our traveling certificate. And we stayed a day for the certificate to be ready. So that was day before yesterday. We came back to Nigeria. The Ghana immigration officers hand over us to Nigerian immigration officers, and the Nigerian immigration officers brought us back to Nigeria, Lagos, Ikeja, and handed over us to NAPTIP officers here in Nigeria. And I'm so happy to be back. I miss my mom, my siblings, and family. Please, if anybody should come telling you about job outside the country, please, it's not a job. It's prostitution. You'll be forced to do it even if you don't want to. And all I want to say is thank you to NAPTIP for rescuing me.
For more inquiries and support, or to report cases of suspected human trafficking, violence against persons and child abuse, please call NAPTIP hotline 0703 0000203 or the short code 627. Take advantage of the NAPTIP iReporter app and report incidences with ease. Email us info@naptip.gov.ng. Visit our website www.naptip.gov.ng. Follow us on our social media platforms at NAPTIP Nigeria or watch our videos on YouTube.
Our time is up, but I must thank you for watching and urge you to keep a date with us next week. My name is Angela Agbegi. See you soon.